So there are 4 new fundamental movements plus back stance that needs to be taught prior to learning Tae Gyuk Sa Jahn. We're going to go ahead and go through those. First one is twin knife hand middle block out of back stance, then spear hand out of front stance, the high knife hand inner knife hand strike also out of front stance, and the vertical back fist strike out of front stance. Also in the form, which is a little bit new but not really, is doing the outer forearm and the inner middle block both out of back stance. So I can go through those briefly, but it's same as the other video, just you're in back stance, so there's no difference. It just feels different because you're in a different stance. We're going to start first by going through back stance, since it's going to appear in the first fundamental movement as well as at the top of the form with the hammer blocks and the inner blocks. So let's just go ahead and get into that real quick. When you are doing back stance, number one part of back stance is your heels are in alignment. So I want to make sure that my front heel and my back heel are on the same line. If I'm turning, it's just a weight shift and pivot the feet. Okay. The second part of back stance is my shoulder, my hip, my knee, and my foot are all in a straight line. If you stand up in back stance and you shift your weight forward because it's more comfortable, you are no longer in back stance. Okay. You need to sit on that back leg. So this is weight distribution is the opposite of front stance. I got 70% of my weight on this back leg and 30% on the front leg. This means until I develop the leg strength, this is going to be really uncomfortable. After you develop the leg strength, it's just a little bit uncomfortable. It's always going to be uncomfortable. That's how you know you're doing it right. As far as my placement, as far as direction of my toes, my back toe is not quite 90 degrees to the side. It's turned inwards about an inch. Okay? My front toes, I can point straight forward. I've seen people turn them inwards a little bit, and that's not super critical. It's still going to offer you a good solid stance. Should ideally be straightforward. As far as measuring back stance, okay? So on front stance, it's a knee and 2 fists. Back stance, it's a knee and a single fist. Okay? Pressing again, getting that hip shoved back against the thing. As far as one way to train this, if you have a nice flat wall, or I have these posts here at the gym, I put my base foot up against it, I put my hip and shoulder up against it, and I sit into that back stance. You can also have students stand up against the wall, make them suffer, train their muscles to get stronger training for that back stance. But again, as far as measuring goes, I drop down to one knee, measure knee in one fist, draw that line across, and then making sure that my heels are on that same line, okay? And then press that hip back across and then sit down. Most common thing that beginners and intermediates do on the back stance is they don't want to sit into the stance deep enough. And that's basically because people are lazy and it hurts and that stuff. So you just have to be no more disciplined and kind of embrace the pain a little bit until you get your leg muscles developed. That's all it is. Once your leg muscles are developed, okay, you're fine. As far as walking and moving in back stance, so I'm pushing off the back foot. My ankles are coming really close together, not quite touching. I go straight line and then I pivot on the ball of the foot and turn that heel out. So driving across this way. Turning is really simple. I just pivot the feet, shift the weight. Okay? So again, turn that foot, set through, and sit on the stance. Okay. Going sideways. Okay. Okay. Now the twin knife hand block. Okay. So we'll go ahead and explain the twin knife hand. So the first motion in Tae Gyuk Sa Jahn is that twin knife hand middle block. So we'll go ahead and go through and break that down. It is essentially the same as an outer knife hand block, which is the same as that hammer block that I did in the original video with an open knife hand. So I should explain how to do a proper knife hand as well. Proper knife hand. So the main thing on a knife hand is pull that thumb back towards your chest, okay, so or towards your shoulder, however you want to look at it. But I'm pulling that thumb back, and that's going to tighten the back of the hand. Okay, you can already feel that got tighter just by pulling that thumb back. If I squeeze it in, it hurts me a little bit more, actually. I don't like that at all, okay? But pulling this back tightens the back of the hand, makes this rock solid. The extra credit part of this is I take my fingers and get them together, and then I bend the middle finger just ever so slightly so that all three of these are the same. When I'm doing knife hand, the thumb is probably 80% of tensing the knife hand. The fingers is the other 20. Okay, so if I just do the fingers and not the thumb, my hand is very weak. Pulling that thumb back locks that in place. Okay? Applying these blocks or these strikes in motion, my hand stays relaxed until impact. That's when I tighten it, pull that thumb back, and then it goes back to relax. So it's only tense on impact. So I'm not holding it tight the whole time through. It's relaxed until impact. Whether I'm doing inner, outer, or even the spear hand, it's the hands relaxed until the point of impact. So that's the basic knife hand motion. So when you're doing the twin knife hand motion, the chamber for the twin knife hand is reaching backwards, okay, about a 45-degree upwards at that angle there, okay? So I'm reaching up and then circling around and dropping down the block, okay? So if I'm going this way, I reach up and I circle, okay? If I'm doing a single knife hand, chamber is here and I circle. Okay? Same as if I'm doing that outer forearm block or that hammer block that I did in that earlier video. So I have that circle out motion that's pushing out. I'm not going from here to a straight line and intersect. Okay? So it's not straight line. It's circling out. Because remember, I want to make an impact on their arm at a 90-degree angle. If I come from in front of my chest to their arm, I'm intersecting in a straight line at probably a 30-degree angle. The power of my block is going to bounce off or ricochet off. Or if I'm coming out and around, I'm hitting at that 90, and I'm going to impact and do more damage when they try to strike. So remember, the difference between a block and a strike is nothing. The only thing I'm doing is I'm striking their strike. And to say that is redundant and stupid. So we just call it a block. Because saying strike the strike is weird. One thing that I need to fix on Tae Gyuk Sa Jahn is when I chamber the twin knife hand middle block, I have both palms down. This is incorrect. I'm not getting the snap of the wrist with my palm down. Turn the palm facing towards you. The opposite hand, the augment hand, that is reaching back, that is palm facing down. But the hand that is actually doing the blocking, facing towards you. So that is something that also I have to fix. Okay, so when I come around, again, you don't want to go over, you want to go forward. Think about just twisting. Okay, so I chamber, and there's my block. So I still have that motion where I'm coming out this way, kind of like if I was, directing traffic. I'm telling people to stop, sweeping the hand out this way. Okay, but it's just the hand flow this way. So turning that wrist towards you, and then drop. The power that you get from dropping the weight on impact can almost double the power of the block. So I really want to emphasize that. If you're not synchronizing your block with your weight drop, or you're not dropping the weight at all, you're missing out on a tremendous amount of power. Okay? So when you bring this through, time the sit. Get it so that it works together, because otherwise you're going to miss out a lot of power. Okay? The back hand on the twin knife hand middle lands on the solar plexus. The arm position, if my hands were closed, the knuckles would be about chin level height. Because my fingertips are open, that puts it lip level height. So when you're doing twin knife hand, you look over your fingertips, and your fingertips should be just about lip level height. That gives you the correct angle as far as the block goes. Okay? Notice my hand position is not turned flat this way. Same as hammer block, we have that 30-degree angle here. And when I hit, I want to spread the chest just so slightly. So it's here and then spread the chest. I'm exaggerating it so you can see it. Okay? But when I'm here, and just right at that last second, just spread the shoulders, spread the chest a little bit, and sink into that stance. So nice step, I'm up high, lifting, circling out, and drop into the stance, and then spread the chest a little bit. The next one is the spear hand strike. Done out of front stance. I'm not going to review that. Watch the other video if you want to watch how we do our front stances. One part that a lot of people miss on spear hand is it doesn't come from the hips. Okay? It bounces up to the ribs and then drives in. So 1, 2, and then come in for the spear hand. Shoulders are completely square on impact. Okay? I'm also making a rectangle with my left arm, and the fingertips just go right above the elbow joint on the bottom. This palm is down, this hand is turned sideways. And yeah, I'm still doing that knife hand, same way, spear hand, knife hand, same strike, pulling those 3 fingers in, so I'm coming this way. But bounce the hands to the ribs, and then shoot it out. So 1, and it's a bounce. So it's not slow, I'm just showing you how it's done. When it's actually done, it's a bounce. Okay? Your punches should actually be done the same way, where you lift and bounce them in. Spear hand is also done obverse, so if that right leg is forward, I drive that spear hand, okay, coming in with that lead leg. Sitting into the stance, pressing that knee, driving in deep for that spear hand strike. Punches in traditional forms, most people are just doing them 1, 2. We want to make this a little bit better, so let's go break down these punches as well. When people are first doing punches, we just have them practice the coordination of turning the hands over. Once they understand it, we accelerate it a little bit. When you're doing punches, your shoulders are square, full facing forwards. So I have the hips turn, and I need to bring it back square. So you have, just like an inner middle block, you have that double hip action. So 1 as you just come in, and then bring it back to center as you punch. Most of the Taegyuk forms are all middle punches, striking at the solar plexus. There's 2 high punches on Taegyuk Ijjan, everything else is a middle punch. When we're doing a punch, again, you want to turn your wrist so that you're striking with these 2 big knuckles, so that the big knuckles line up with the 2 bones in the forearm. The bones are lining up, straight line. There should be just a slight curve to the wrist. It shouldn't be straight line forearm to knuckles. There should be a slight curve, focusing mainly on these 2 big knuckles here. Okay, so driving in that way. When you are doing the punches, you'll see the beginners, they just throw them from the hips. As they progress, you actually want to bounce the fist up to the ribs and shoot it in this way. Okay? And you will find that you get a significant increase in power by bouncing it. So I bounce and then through. Okay? Even if you're in fighting stance and you're working the bag, bounce that, even though it's not as big of a bounce, I bounce it up just a couple of inches and shoot it straight in. And you're gonna, again, feel a difference because you have that kinesthetic, that action of motion to launch, and it's all bicep. You're bouncing it with that bicep muscle before you shoot it in. That's more accurately how a punch should be performed. That's more accurately how your punches should be thrown in your Taekwondo forms. Since we're already in back stance, the top of Tae Gyuk Sa Jahn, you have the motion where your hammer block, kick, and you land back for the inner middle block. That's not a new block, but the back stance might be new for you. Okay? So again, when you're doing that hammer block, you sit into that back stance, dropping the weight. From here, you transfer the weight forward, fire the front kick, and then put your foot right back where it is, lifting that arm straight 90 degrees to the side, and then sink into that. And this is going to be a little bit strange when you do it, because again, when you do that inner middle block, your shoulders need to be square. And this is a little awkward the first few times you do it. Okay? Turning the hips is sometimes a little bit awkward and just needs to be practiced. The next new one for Tae Gyuk Sa Jahn is the high knife hand, inner knife hand strike. Sometimes this one's just nicknamed the double chop because it's easier. But it's a high block and it's an inside middle block thrown at the same time with knife hands. So the high block comes almost from the shoulder. Okay? So if I have my high block chamber, which is here, okay, and my inside middle block, which is here. Traditionally, this was brought from the shoulder. And this was reached behind your head, somewhere back here. Okay, I think this is how I learned it, and you see a lot of schools doing it this way. Because this is easy to teach. You don't need to bring it back this far. Here's my high block chamber. If I drop the right hand, it's right there. If that works, why do I need to bring it to my shoulder? I've never done high block from the shoulder. Okay, to me, it's awkward, and you can test it. It's not going to have the same power. Okay? In fact, we'll be testing these blocks here in a little bit. When I'm doing my high block, if my chamber is here, I'm going to leave that left hand there. My inner middle block, 90 degrees to the side, the only difference is I'm not here with the negative hand. So this fires up as I come in for the strike to the neck. Okay? So again, turning the hips, and just like an inside middle block, this does have the same 3 hip actions. So 1, 2, 3. In that outer knife hand, you want to think about swimming out and cutting in, making that loop coming around. And kind of goes back to white crane a little bit, where they have these big smooth motions where you're coming through. Because this is a dynamic motion. It's not stiff. It's not 1, 2. Okay? Swing this around as I'm driving through and then squaring everything up right at the end. But on the high block, my fist needs to be over my ear for proper alignment. On knife hand, this is weaker. I need to actually bring it so that my fingertips are over my ear. So it's a little bit different for correct alignment. And hopefully we'll have the chance to test this, but if not, you guys seen how we test the high blocks. Play with it yourself and see what need to adjust. Also play with the angle of the wrist on the high block and on the knife hand, and see which is the strongest angle coming in. Okay. A common mistake people do on this one is they strike and their hand is really, really close here. It's almost like the person's kissing them and they're smacking him in the neck. Okay. I'm not letting somebody get that close if I'm trying to do violence against them. We'll reach that hand out, stretch that right hand, striking the side of the neck as you come through. There's a couple different chains of thought on this. A lot of people are looking this as attack is coming in, I'm blocking and striking at the same time. And on this particular one, that is possible. However, it could also be, I just need more power on the knife hand. And this is something that you can test. Is this inner knife hand stronger here? Or is the inner knife hand stronger with this hand raised up here? Okay, we're going to test that, and you can see it for yourself. Or you can test it for yourself, which is what I recommend. The last one that we're going to talk about is the vertical back fist strike. Okay, so vertical back fist strike, in the form, it is done out of front stance. I'm going to reach my reverse hand forward, my back hand, turning my palm facing out away from the ear. Okay, coming down, turning that back fist over, striking the bridge of the nose, and again, I need to bring my opposite shoulder in to square it. Otherwise, I'm hitting this way, and again, the alignment's not there, the power's not there. Okay, so turning in here. Hips turn, drop, and I bring that shoulder back in this way. Okay, so 1, 2. Interns. 1, 2. On a vertical back fist, you are striking with the back of the fist. Okay, striking the bridge of the nose. It's not a power strike, it's a lightning strike. Okay, so pop. That's why you see in Ojan, you'll see back fist followed by an inner middle. And I personally believe in Ojan, when you do that inner middle block, that's a strike to the side of the head. It's not a block. Okay, I hit the back fist and I hit the side of the head on a follow-up strike. Again, a lot of these different motions can be interpreted differently. When you get into the Taegyuks, there's not a lot of bunkai, or however you pronounce that, which is a Japanese term meaning explanation of technique. The Taegyuks aren't designed that way. Taegyuks are designed to be a study of movement, a study of the individual blocks and strikes, which is what we're focusing on with this video here. When we're testing the different blocks for Tae Gyuk Sa Jahn and Tae Gyuk Sa Jahn, it's kind of the same as the first video that we did. All right. So the first one we'll do is the one from Sa Jahn, which is the back stance outer knife hand block. This is going to be tested the exact same way as you did the hammer block. Your fingertips are lip level height. If you close the fist, hammer block, it doesn't change. That's why the testing of this is identical. Okay, go back to my hand. Okay, so again, he's going to be projecting now, instead of a knuckle and a hammer block, it's his pinky, but kind of upwards, almost over my head. So when he spreads his shoulders out, he's going to be projecting and pressing upwards as well as outwards. Okay? And again, all I'm doing is applying pressure that way. Okay? Pretty simple as far as a test. Across the arms, and again, this is practicing the timing of when the block comes in and when you drop the weight. So he's going to be a little bit high on his stance. You'll notice when he hits, he'll drop a little bit and sink into the stance. He will exhale, okay, unless he forgets to. Please don't do that, Joe. Breathing is good. And I'm probably going to say ow on impact. Okay, so it comes in. Okay, this time you try it again. A little early. Okay. That was it.
I didn't know how fast you were going to go.
Yeah, I know. And that's why we practice. So the twin knife hand block is the first motion in Tae Gyuk Sa Jahn, and you're going to test it exactly the same way as you did the outer knife hand. There's not a whole lot of difference between these. The difference is the application. So an outer knife hand block stops a punch or a light kick. A twin knife hand block is meant to stop a more powerful attack. Okay? It is not a throw. It is simply, I need to load up on this thing if he's coming for a roundhouse kick or something, and I need to shut it down. Or, for whatever reason, if he's throwing a punch, maybe I feel I need to break him. I don't know. I've never actually hit someone when they threw a punch with a twin knife hand block. I just imagine it would do a considerable amount of damage, because this, when you get everything synced together, this just hits hard. Okay, so again, twin knife hand. Okay, he's going to project the same way as we did on the other. I'm going to apply pressure. The only difference is because this hand is on the solar plexus, he's going to spread the shoulders more, which you really can't do as well on the outer knife hand. You can, but this, you actually feel it more when you do the twin knife hand. Okay, so again, he's spreading the shoulders, projecting that way, and that is like that. Okay, I ain't moving that. Again, you want to practice the timing of it, so he reaches back in the chamber. Okay, notice both fists are palm down. I don't remember if I explained that earlier. Okay, and as you practice the timing, there it is.
That's my favorite block. That's one of my favorite blocks.
Yeah, I wonder why. Okay, I need to get my pads on to do these. Okay, that's why Master Girl only lets you get one shot when you practice these in class, because yeah, my whole arm's numb now. It was what, 2 shots? One on the knife hand and this one. Yeah, so have fun testing these. Hopefully you're slightly sadistic and you like a little pain like we do. But it's not about that. It's about testing to see if your blocks work. That's all it is. To test your spear hand, it's honestly too difficult. So if he has spear hand up, if I apply pressure, I'm going to hurt his fingers and he's going to flinch because of the pain. So just make a vertical punch. Okay, everything else is square. He's still got his hand open. I don't know if you can see it on the, shoulders are still square. Okay, we do need to bring this more towards the center, towards the solar plexus. Okay, turn that. Okay, and now, and that's rock solid. The only way that you'd actually be able to practice that spear hand is if you had a student who was able to do push-ups on their fingertips, which I can't do. I don't know if I expect anybody else to do it. And the next one we're going to do is the high knife hand, inner knife hand strike. A lot of people look at as they're blocking something here and coming in and striking the side of the neck. And that's a possibility. I'm not going to say it's not. Okay? But it could also just be I'm adding power to the knife hand. So we're going to test this out a little bit. And I'm going to grab a target to let him test it out with. If that's easy. All right. Get that in a minute. So when he steps out for the double chop, which is the lazy name for this one, you want to have the same motion as your high block. Okay. So if I test the power of the high block, it's there. If I test the inner middle block, okay, you press the knee to the outside. Oh, I see what the problem is. You're not on center, you're over here.
Okay.
Bring this across in, a little bit more here. Now press. There it is. Mm-hmm. Okay, and that's how we make corrections. We apply pressure. What's not quite right, and then we make the adjustments, fix it, test it again. Okay. So what we want to test, resist. Good, relax. Now take that hand to your hip. Now, which one do you feel is stronger?
The augmented.
The augmented one, okay? And again, test it, okay? It is just, what, 10% stronger, maybe? It's noticeable, but it's not like, earth-shattering. So if I need a little bit more power, I can bring that other hand into play as opposed to bringing it down to the hip, okay? And again, when we're hitting for power, okay. Yep. There it is. Okay. Now do the regular knife hand. Reach forward. Yeah, I can feel the difference. So the last new one for Tae Gyuk Sa Jahn is the vertical backfist strike. This one really doesn't have a pressure test. Okay, I'm not gonna push up while he pushes down. Okay, what I am gonna do is hit my hand. Use the whole chamber. That's why you use the chamber. Okay, now if you don't like your hand, keep doing that. If you do, put a target up. Okay. And let it feel the power, feel the impact from there. So that's how you actually test the backfist strike. But I'm a firm believer that you should be striking and hitting things to test and see and feel. When I'm doing the outer knife hand or the inner knife hand, okay, I like to test it on the makawari. I want to swim it out away from me. The outer knife hand, I want to swim it out away from me. Want to make sure that I got my arm lined up. I don't want to hit here and hit the edge of the makawari because that's hard wood. Okay. Test it. Okay. That's pretty much what we have for you guys today. Thank you for watching. If you like what we're doing, please hit that like and subscribe button. Until next time, God bless and keep on kicking. If you guys managed to make it to this video, then you like this kind of stuff, and I want to invite you to come train with us. We have a Indiana Dunes training camp that we do every year. This year it is June 6th, 7th, and 8th, 2025, and we are going to be doing a deep dive on this aspect of the martial arts, of Taekwondo, where we get into the blocks, we get into the strikes, we get into the kicks, and really break them down, and from a very technical point of view, talking about the muscle and the bone alignment that allows for maximum power. So if you like this kind of thing, I would love to invite you to come out. The registration is at Rising Star Taekwondo /Dunes, and I will link below. But if you guys are in the area and you want to come out and see more of what we do and learn from us directly, come out to the Dunes. It's either a 3-day camp or you can do 1 day. I recommend Saturday, which is our main day. I'd love to see more of you guys come out and learn and see what we're doing. So God bless, and hopefully see you in June.